Now we will start George Orwell or George Orwell. George Orwell is one of the well-known modern novelists. He was born in 1903 in Bihar, India, Motihari. He was educated at Eton. He lived a wandering and poor life. He wrote in a delightful manner on a variety of subjects. The chief quality or characteristics of his writing is humor. He poured humor in his writings. The humor in his writings is not light but sober. The undercurrent of satire is found in all his writings. A special charm lies in his writing. He wrote 6 novels, some essays, and critical and political pamphlets. He was a democratic socialist. He was deadly against dictatorship and communism. He did not like at all Marxist ideology. He said, every line on serious work I have written since 1936 has been against totalitarianism and for democratic socialism as I understand it. His most famous novels are Animal Farm and 1984. 1984 is a blood-curdling anticipation of what the condition might be of England under communist rule. In Animal Farm, he stands but as a great political satirist on communism. 1984 has been filmed and televised. George Orwell died of constipation in 1950. He was an honest but pessimistic political novelist. His novel Animal Farm was first published in 1944. The Second World War has just ended. It is called a fairy story by the author, but it is also a burlesque which makes fun on communism. It is a humorous hit at Marxist ideology. It is a political satire on communistic dictatorship of Russia. The story has been especially told for children. Children like to read such satirical stories. Animal Farm has been filmized and broadcast on BBC. Now we'll see some brief story of the book. As the name of the book suggests, it is a story of animals. There was a farm in England. It was called Manor Farm. The owner of the farm was Mr. Jones. There were many animals on the farm. Among them were pigs, horses, dogs, goats, cows, a donkey, a cat, hens, pigeons, and a demon. Among these animals, there was an old boar called Old Major. He was 12 years old. Once he was very slack and very near to death. He called a meeting of all the animals. He told them that their lives were very miserable. They were not free. They were the slaves of men. They worked hard, but they did not get enough to eat. He added that man was the sole cause of their misery and unhappiness. They could be happy only if they owed the human race. Man was their greatest enemy, and their happiness depended on the conquering man. 3 days later, he died, but before dying, he had inspired the animals with a rebellious zeal. He taught them the song Beasts of England. The animals on the manor farm The animals on the manor farm were deeply affected by the speech of the old bear. They began to think about what he had said. They held several meetings in the big barn. At last, they resolved to rebel against their master. One day, the animals were neglected and were kept hungry. They revolted and drove out Jones and his men. Thus, they became the owners of the farm. The pigs were regarded the wisest of all the animals. Napoleon, Snowball, Squealer, and other pigs became leaders. They made their own laws. They made their own laws and began to work accordingly. Napoleon and Snowball framed the 7 commandments of animalism. All the animals began to be treated as equals. They organized the animals into republic of equal animals. Everyone, especially Boxer, a horse, worked hard. There were meetings, committees, and reading and writing classes. The pigs had already learned reading and writing. They did not do physical work. but they became the ruling class with special privileges with pigs, cleverness, and Boxer's hard work. The band became successful. After some months, Jones and some other men attacked Animal Farm, but the animals defeated them at the Battle of the Cowshed. Snowball, Epic, and Boxer, the horse, were the heroes of the day. Medals of Animal Hero First Class were awarded to them. Napoleon was more cunning and tactful than Snowball. There was a struggle for power between Napoleon and Snowball. Napoleon wanted to become the master of the farm. Napoleon opposed Snowball's project of windmill. Napoleon had been secretly training 9 dogs from their birth. One day, these 9 dogs were ordered to rush upon Snowball. They chased him and drove out of the farm forever. Napoleon became now the self appointed dictatorial leader. His dogs were his faithful bodyguards and soldiers. Squealer, a great liar, was his propaganda minister. Napoleon persuaded the animals to do what he liked. Under him, things changed. Animals began to be treated badly. They were forced to work hard every day. Except the privileged pigs, no one got enough to eat. They could not complain against the ill treatment. They also had not the courage to do anything against their leader. There was a reason for that. Napoleon was always surrounded with fierce dogs. They were ready to kill any animal to at his order. A hard winter came. Animals got less food, but the outside world was misled by false propagandas. Many animals who criticized for their sufferings were killed by the dogs. The animals began to suffer under the worst kind of dictatorship. The life of the animals became very hard and miserable. It was worse than the life they lived under Jones. They were treated like slaves while the leader, the Napoleon, enjoyed all the privileges and comforts of authority. He slept on a bed, he moved out with the great pomp, he drank wine and beer like human beings. The ruling class of pigs started drinking wine. Pigs had become like humans in dress and habits. Boxer had been a willing worker. He was faithful follower of Napoleon. He worked on beyond his strength. One day he collapsed. He was sold to the butcher, but Squealer told the other animals that Boxer had died in the hospital. Pigs held a feast in Boxer's honor. They drank another case of whiskey. Years passed. The Republic of Animals farm grew old. The farm made much progress, but only pigs and dogs shared the grain. The working animals worked and lived like slaves, but they still believed on old Major's dream. They hoped for a republic of equal animals. One day, pigs came out walking on their hind legs. They were carrying whips. Other animals were frightened, but they kept quiet. The sheep began to cry, 4 legs good, 2 legs better. Squealer had taught them this new slogan instead of the 7 commandments. There was a single one on the wall. One day, some farm owners, who were all human beings, were invited by Napoleon. Napoleon and other Napoleon and other pigs dined and drank wine with them. Humans and pigs were drinking and playing cards together. Finally, Napoleon made an agreement with them and developed political and commercial relations with the men. Napoleon announced several changes. The name of the farm was changed back to Manor Farm.